just because you have kids doesn't mean your dreams die. I really had to check myself hard. Like, Marissa, you were going to go to college one day. You were going to do all of these things. You're going to go and you're going to do all the things that you need to be and do, and you're going to be okay. So I really wasn't supposed to be there. I think that there's always a reason for everything. Even if you can't see it at the moment, there's a reason for it. So I love my Target While Black community. Those are my girls. They're looking for me to share and post things, and I always still will. But I need to spread my wings a little bit. I need to do more in more spaces. I need to be able to do all the things, right? I need to show who Marissa is outside of just the Target girl. It turns out when you put all your energy into something, it gets pretty lit. Hi, this is Marissa Kearney, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
Hey, Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 370 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. And today our guest is Marissa Kearney, and she's going to be talking about how she founded the ever-popular Target While Black and now Retail While Black. But we're going to talk about how she got to where she is today. So a lot of you may not know, but Marissa's actually a mother. She was a teenage mom. She details how that pivotal moment in her life, realizing that she had 2 young children that she had to do it for, really set her path towards success and just really set her towards this journey of discovering who she is and what she wanted to do with her life. There's a lot of ups and downs that we're going to navigate. There's a lot of things that could have set her back. A lot of times when she had to make a decision, sometimes when she felt stuck, but she was able to put a dream into motion, and we're going to discuss just how she was able to do that, right? Some of the things that we talk about in this episode include the realities of what it means to be an online influencer and content creator today, and even the ups and downs of revenue generation and planning for the future. I think a lot of us are stuck in this, what do I do? What's next? What will I be doing in a few years from now? It's the reality of what it means to be a online entrepreneur, influencer today. And I think it's important that we talk about that. The thing that I really love about this episode too is our conversation about what really keeps her going and how her children have been motivating her since day one. If this is your first time listening, please make sure that you are following us across the board. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Dreams and Drive. And if you want to sign up to be part of our online newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly email updates delivered right to your inbox, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. All right, let's hear from Marissa.
Hi, Raina. It's nice to be here.
It is so nice to have you on the show. I'm super excited for our listeners to be able to learn more about your dream driving journey. But let us go back in time, right? Because I love to start all our interviews going back in time and really just focusing in on who we were as children, because I feel like that time was so magical, or maybe not, right? For a lot of us.
Yeah.
So take us back to the young Marissa, right? What was inspiring you as a child?
So young Marissa was a mess. But what was inspiring to me was reading. I loved to read. I think it was a way for me to kind of get out of the world that I was in and into another world. So you can always catch me in the library. You can always catch me with a new book. I was known to get in trouble for reading quite often. But I just love the magic of diving into a new world.
That is so funny, because I too used to get in trouble because I would take my books everywhere, right? Like I would be in the grocery store with my mom trying to read, and she's like, Raina, you need to like look where you're going. You can't read everything, right? Or everywhere. Yep. So that's really interesting. What was the young dream for you though? Did you have anything where you're like, when I grow up, I want to be this? Or was there something that was really captivating and you saw yourself doing that one day?
So I thought I was going to be a marine biologist, which is completely hilarious because I do not want animals to touch me at all. But I was convinced I was going to work at SeaWorld and I was going to like pet all the dolphins. And that dream died for me really quickly when I went to like this marine aquarium excursion that my mom probably paid a lot of money for. And I got there and there was these weird, like squishy, pointy animals that they were like, oh yeah, you'll have to work with these often. I was immediately like, no, I'm not doing this.
So the marine biologist dreams died, but nothing came in their place after that?
So after that, it was, I had my kids and I really I feel like a lot of mothers go through this, but I really like just focus on making sure that they had everything they need. And it was more so me trying to make sure that they were okay than making sure that my dreams were being fulfilled. And it was a while before I like checked myself and was like, just because you have kids doesn't mean your dreams die.
Oh,
Right.
I love that. Can you tell our
Yeah.
listeners, just so that we can locate you, where in the U.S. were you growing up?
Oh, so I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, so you're a Florida girl.
Yep.
And you were a teenager, Marissa, when you had your children, right? So how do you think that kind of played into who you were at this time? And just how was that for you? Because I can only imagine, right? I had my first kid when I was 29. So I can only imagine having my first child as a teenager. Was that difficult, or how was that period of your life for you?
It was very difficult. And it wasn't until, man, like last year that I was able like to open up and talk about a lot of things that went on in my life during that time period. I think a lot of people, when they hear teen moms, they think about like, oh, that person was just doing whatever. But I went through a lot of abuse with this person.
Okay.
It was a lot of like emotional and just, it was a horrendous time. Like, I had to go to a lot of therapy to be okay. And during that time period, um, there's a lot of things, it's kind of sad, but there's a lot of things I don't remember about my kids because I was just so traumatized about
Yeah.
all of the things that were going on. So I really had to check myself hard. Like, Marissa, you were going to go to college one day. You were going to do all of these things. You are not going to be this person. You're not going to be a victim. You're not going to do all of this. You're going to go and you're going to do all the things that you need to be and do, and you're going to be okay. Um, so my mom at the time, I was like, Mom, I need to go to school. I can't stay stuck here in Jacksonville. I need to go to school. So I actually applied to go to UCF and I got in. And my mom was like, okay, you go and you come back on the weekends. So my mom actually watched my kids during the week and I came back on the weekends. And then when I graduated from college, and I became a teacher, I said, okay, Mom, I have everything I need. And I came back and I got my kids and they have been with me now for the last several years. But I thank my mom a lot for that time because, I wasn't going to be okay where I was. Um, it's some things are really hard to talk about during that time period, but I had to change my environment very hard and very quickly and focus on what I needed to do. And I was able to do that. So I'm proud of myself for getting myself out of that situation.
When you said that, the first thing that came to mind is I had a friend, a childhood friend. We both went to high school together, and she actually got pregnant her first week of college, right? And so we were all supposed to go into college together, and her life dramatically changed. But she too, her mom was the one who stepped in and said, "Hey, you go to school and come back on the weekends, and you're not going to not, you know." achieve the things that you wanted to. And she actually graduated early. I'm like, girl, how did you graduate before us? It's just funny because then it was like something switched on in her, right? And she had to really dig deep and find things that she never knew existed. And I even find now as a mother, there are certain things I don't know if they were always there and they get activated through motherhood, right? Like you just learn that you are so much more powerful than you even ever imagined. Do you remember during this time what you were really learning about who Marissa the person was as you were really, completing college and figuring out, all right, I do not have to let my past define me or define my future.
Right. I remember knowing that it wasn't just me anymore.
Yeah.
And that no matter what, I had to make sure that my kids were going to be better than what I was for myself. And I don't know, you're very right. Something just like clicked in my head that I was going to do this and I was going to kill it. So, I ended up transferring from UCF to USF. I actually made the first pre-anesthesiology assistant program that was on campus. I was going to be an anesthesiologist assistant.
Okay.
So I made a club. I met with the director of the school. I'm in an article for that school. I'm in an article where they're talking about, me making the first club and going to do all that stuff. And I graduated actually, and I did not get in to the program I wanted to get into.
And that's what you had really planned everything around.
Yes. And it was one of those things where I didn't get in and I felt almost devastated that I didn't get in. But I also had to put myself in check again because there was only at the time a handful of programs that were like that. And there was only one in the state of Florida. So while most people would probably apply to every single program that they could, I knew that I had kids and I could not go that far, right?
Yeah.
I only had that one option. So I applied again and I still didn't get in. And I know the director. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? And they're like, well, there's people who already have master's degrees who are applying to this program. So they already outrank you. I said, okay. I went and got a master's degree.
And did you get in again?
I did not get in again.
Oh, man. How did that make you feel?
I felt like, I was like, man, I did all of this work and I'm still not getting in. Like, what is going on? But at this point, I had already started teaching when I was doing my master's degree. So I was teaching, I was doing my master's degree. And at that time I had my kids and we were living in St. Petersburg, Florida. Don't ask me how I survived on the teacher's salary in St. Petersburg, Florida. I have no idea till this day.
Can you tell me, I'm not from Florida. Is St. Petersburg an affluent part of Florida? Like what makes it so unique?
St. Petersburg is, oh, are you from New York? I feel like you are.
I'm from Jersey, but you can I'm the New York City area. From Jersey.
Yeah. So St. Petersburg is the artsy part of Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. Okay. Like Brooklyn Heights, exactly that area. Dumbo.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly how it is. So, a lot of people want to live down there. And I was teaching in that area. So at one point I was commuting across the bridge from Tampa to St. Petersburg, but that was just a lie. It's like an hour of traffic trying to get over there.
Okay.
So I didn't get in again. I was like, okay, well, I need to find something else to do. But I was teaching. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to teach. But I did not like teaching right now.
I was going to ask you, because if you were going to be pre-anesthesiology, right? And then to that switch from, just because you like learning doesn't mean you like teaching, right? So Did you feel like you were settling by going into education, or was just something that worked?
So I was a substitute teacher before I became a teacher. So I was doing substitute teaching while I was in school. So what my days look like is I would actually, when I was in college, this is back in college. So I would actually substitute teach, pretty much all day, from like 7:30 to 3:00 in the afternoon. And then I would do some schoolwork in between my substitute job and going to Target for work in the afternoons. And I would work at Target from like 5 until like midnight. And I did that for months until I got a blood clot.
I was going to say, that does not seem like it's very healthy for anyone.
It definitely was not. And all this between like, I had school on certain days. So
and you still had the pressures, even though you weren't, your children were with your mom during the week. I'm pretty sure you were still checking in on them and like there's so much pressure. The pressure alone.
I just knew I needed to make it, and I needed to pay for, my rent and food and everything else. It was a lot. I still don't know how that part of my life went. I'm very thankful for where I am now because it was a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of like you were on autopilot, right? But
for a
but
long
the
time.
autopilot got you to where you needed to, it got you to the exit so that you can get off and
Yeah.
figure it out, right? And not have to be on autopilot anymore. During this time as a teacher, you said that you didn't enjoy it. Were you thinking of an exit plan? Or were you like, was there anything else brewing for you in your mind, or something that you saw yourself maybe going towards that could help you, not be in a career that you didn't love?
So it almost felt like a forced exit at that point because I was teaching there and it was really tough school for a first year teacher. I truly believe that for first year teachers, there needs to be some kind of mandate for them to go to certain schools for the first time. I had classrooms that were 32 kids, and 30 of those kids would have an emotional behavior disorder. And
Was this an inner city community? Or were
um
these students of color, or
yes,
just okay?
yes. So, and it was really tough because I would actually have to cry before I went into school because there were so many things that these kids were dealing with um that you couldn't help them with, you know?
Yeah.
Um, kids that would come to school and not have eaten that morning. Kids that would take their brother and sister to school and pick them up from school and really not see their parents at all. You know?
Yeah.
It was just a lot. And I couldn't handle with the things that I was already going through, trying to, just be okay myself. I couldn't handle not being able to help these kids. So I aggressively started looking for a job that next year. Um, after there was a really rough fight that happened in my classroom. Like I'm talking about staplers, desks being thrown, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Was this what age students were you teaching? High
Sixth
school?
grade.
Sixth grade?
Sixth grade. Yep.
Oh wow.
And I was like, I have to get out of here. I
Mm.
have to go. Please, anybody, help me get out of here.
Can I ask you something, Marissa?
Yeah.
At this stage, right? Although you were not in a place that you loved, and it seemed like it was really tough, the environment, was there anything that you were learning about yourself, or any like takeaways from that teaching experience that still are with you today?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that some of those kids, I see them till this day. I still live in Tampa. I still live in this Tampa St. Pete area. I still see them.
Okay.
Um, and I'm so proud of them when I see them. They're doing so many amazing things. Like the kids that I taught are in college now. What? That's so weird for me.
Yeah.
Or going to college now. So I learned that no matter what you're going through, there's always someone going through something harder than you,
Mm.
right? You have to find the gratitude in everyday things. You have to find something every day that you are thankful for, that you are living for. Because if you don't, you'll get lost. And seeing these kids come to school every day in all of these different circumstances, it just puts you in perspective. It puts you in check of the world, right? So you have to become gracious and have a lot of empathy and find a lot of gratitude in your everyday life. And I think once you find gratitude and you know how to empathize with people, it makes you a different person.
Mm. So you were taking this empathy and this gratitude that I'm guessing you picked up during this time, right? Or things that were stuck with you. So I'm sorry for cutting you off earlier. So what was
Oh,
that exit plan? You said you were aggressively looking. What came next?
yes, yes. I was aggressively looking. Um, and part of it was hard, right? Because it wasn't like I didn't and I was grateful for things before and I had empathy before, but something about like seeing like the struggle of, kids, they're like 12. They're 12 years
Yeah.
old. So you like everything is heightened. And it was kind of hard because, some of my students were really upset that I was leaving. Um, And it
you
wasn't
probably were a light to them, right? Although they stressed you out, you probably were something different and an escape from the reality of their lives.
Yeah, I was very much the teacher where kids would come back to my hallway just to hug me and talk to me, and then go back to class. So yeah, it was really tough leaving them, but I had to go. And this particular year, several teachers were leaving. So this wasn't like a Marissa problem either. You know, it wasn't a way, but this was like a school problem. Teachers were leaving because there was so many things going on that we couldn't control. Like these fights that were happening, they were intense fights, like intense. When I'm talking about staplers and desks, like think of the like, most chaotic scene you can and put yourself there. So I ended up leaving and going to my alma mater. I went back to USF, and I was an admin for the nursing science program.
Did at this point, you know, you had wanted to be an anesthesiologist assistant. You had tried teaching and didn't work out. At this point, did you feel like a failure, or did you feel like, damn, like, why can't I find something?
Yeah. So I felt like, what am I doing wrong? Like, how come I can't get to where I need to go? Everything started to feel very hard. It was very much so like, dang, can I get a break?
Yeah.
Can I get a break? Like, why is everything so hard? Like, why can't I just find where I need to be? Which is kind of crazy because at that point, what was I, like 27 maybe? You know, and I'm thinking I'm going to have my whole life figured out. That's a funny thing too. I feel like we need to talk to people.
No,
like,
isn't that crazy? You know how they say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And like by 25, I want to have 18 kids and be married. And you know how when you're younger, you just don't realize the age correlation with how things really happen in life.
Yes. Yes. Delusional. It's very much delusional. And I wasn't supposed to have everything figured out at that age. I don't know why I was thinking that, everything was going to fall into place for me. And it was very much so like, you see people around you getting into these programs and these schools, but my thing was that maybe I'm just not supposed to do that. Like maybe there's a reason why I'm not supposed to be there. And when I tell you, like, now I am the most squeamish person, I used to watch knee replacements. And now I'm just like, nope, turn it off. Can't do it.
Dream Drivers, as you guys know, I'm on baby number 2 and I'm back in diaper mode full time. Life right now can be super chaotic, so I need a diaper brand that's reliable and works just how I need it. That's why I'm a Pampers mama, and it's the #1 pediatrician recommended brand. So listen, you can fear no leaks with this new and improved Pampers Swaddlers. They now feature a blowout barrier at the back waist to help prevent up to 100% leaks and even blowouts. Plus, the dual leak guard barriers at the legs help protect where those leaks happen the most. And newborn days are poopy central. Recently, we were on a long car ride and I kept hearing that dreaded poop sound. But I knew I didn't have to worry though, because with this new blowout barrier, I'm covered. Less mess, less stress, less hassles, more smiles. P.S. I love that Swaddlers is hypoallergenic and free of parabens and latex. So far, no diaper rashes and his skin is always so healthy and smooth. Plus, they come in sizes newborn to size 8, so I can use them for all of this new baby's diaper wearing life. Download the Pampers Club app today and earn Pampers Cash. Redeem your Pampers Cash for exclusive Pampers coupons, savings, and rewards. Walgreens knows you need your medications, but sometimes what you really need is a prescription for more time with your family or friends, or just more time to do what you want on a Saturday afternoon. That's why Walgreens offers same-day RX delivery to where you are. So you can get more than just your meds. You can get your prescription to save time at the pharmacy. And when you have pharmacy questions, which let's face it, we all do, Walgreens will be there for you with a helpful 24/7 pharmacy chat. So when you need to know, which med do I take before bed again? Or is it safe to have a glass of wine with my prescription? You can ask a Walgreens pharmacy expert that question, no matter where you are or what time of day it is. And that gives you more than just answers. It gives you your prescription for peace of mind. Delivery is available on eligible prescriptions only. See details at walgreens.com/prescription delivery.
So I really wasn't supposed to be there. I think that there's always a reason for everything. Even if you can't see it at the moment, there's a reason for it. So I knew I wasn't supposed to be at that particular job, being an anesthesiologist assistant. But then I was at my job at USF and I was like, man, well, what am I going to do? Right?
Yeah.
And then the lockdown happened and I was bored because my job was a lift, but not really that much of a lift. You know, it was very much something that you can do on autopilot.
Yeah. And financially, was it more stable than teacher's salary?
Yes, it was. I got a big increase.
Okay.
From teacher to there. So that was helpful too. And I moved in with my boyfriend at the time. He's my fiance now, but my boyfriend at the time. And that helped a lot too with, you know, having two salaries now. I like being creative. And my daughter's very creative. She's more creative than I am. But I like to do crafts. I like to bake cookies. I'm the mom that has on all the Halloween stuff.
Oh my gosh, you're that mom. I feel so bad for my sons. Like my friend always sends me DIY things from Instagram. I'm like, why are you sending me this? I'm not making a pumpkin and decorating it. Okay, you can do it and bring it over. I'm not that mom.
See, I am all about it. I'm like, oh, do you guys want to carve pumpkins? And my kids are like, absolutely not. Can we carve the fake pumpkins? Because the real pumpkins are messy. And I'm like, that's so fun. So I'm very much that mom of like, every day I'm like, let's do something. Let's watch a Halloween movie. It's kind of peaceful for me. So I started my page. I started Target While Black just because I was bored and I wanted something to do. And I saw Black Santa on the shelf. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to share Santa. I wasn't expecting how many people were going to latch onto that idea. I didn't realize how many people loved Black Santa. Like I love Black Santa. I don't think it wasn't in my head. Like I was like, oh, we like to see Black Santa, but not like Black Santa has a cult-like following.
Why is that, do you think? And it's so funny because I would never have known that either. But sometimes it's like the blessings come in the surprises, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that is. I think maybe it's just you're so used to always seeing Santa one way. And it's not very often that you get the representation of having a Black Santa. I've told this story before, but my grandmother, my grandmother is Hispanic. She's from Spain. She's a Spaniard. My mom is mixed, and my grandfather is African American. He's from Tennessee. And she had mixed kids that in the small town where they were the only family that was like Black in that entire town. And she found ways to, during that time period, bless her, she found ways to like make them feel safe and happy in what they were doing. So she made their Santas Black for them. She grew up like a lot of grandmothers painting the Santas brown so they can have brown Santas in the house. And she was actually the first person to make me a doll. She made me my first brown doll.
Isn't it crazy if you think about it, Marissa, how that little detail, this brown Black Santa, right, that was already in your family history, so to say, was the thing that was the catalyst to you figuring out, to you having this grand journey that you're on now? Isn't that crazy a little bit if you think about it?
It's so odd. I think about that often. Like, what a small detail to change someone's life. I don't know how or why, but yeah, Santa changed my life.
The Black Santa, let's get it right. The Black Santa.
Black Santa changed my life.
So talk to me about the day that you started the Target While Black page. Was it the Instagram first or TikTok? So I know during the pandemic, everybody started using TikTok, or, TikTok was already around, but I feel like the pandemic really just catapulted it to another dimension, another level. Was your intention like to build something, or was your intention to just put it out there and see what happens?
I don't think I had the idea of like building a community or anything. Okay. I was just like making a page. So I have had, this is like a low kept secret. I've had other pages of me just being weird. So I have a crafting page that still exists on the internet. I don't post anything on it, but it was just me doing all my crafts, and I would just post them. Mostly for me, just to have like, basically a collage, if you will, the millennial version of Pinterest, a collage of all the things that I did. And
practice. It was practice for what you're doing now. Right? You just didn't know it yet.
So odd. And then I had a food page where I would like go to places in Tampa and be like, oh my God, you should try this food and this drink, or I didn't like this one. Again, that page still exists. It's out there. But it was just for me, really, me and Kev, which is my fiance, we actually made a notes sheet of all the places we went in Tampa, and we would grade them like A, B, C, F. So we just like transferred that to the Pinterest page, so we could like go back and see what we had at this particular place, or what food we wanted from that particular place. So when I started Santa, I was just like, I'm just going to like share all these cool Black holiday finds that I find. I wasn't expecting it to really like go in that direction at all.
So when did you realize, or talk to me about when you really realized, when the page took off, right? Because there's a moment where like one or two people might like it, but when you start getting thousands of people and it's kind of going viral, how did you feel? And then what was the plan that you made there then?
So I realized that it was starting to get kind of catchy when, it was like maybe January of the next year. And I was like, okay, this isn't like 200 people here. This is like, 3,000-4,000 people here. It's kind of crazy. Maybe I should take this more seriously, because I was posting like every now and then.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, well, you need to post more often, which kind of got me going quickly. So it was Black History Month. And Black History Month, that was the first year that Target was doing Black History Month, quote unquote, the right way. When they were having Black people curate the collection. It wasn't like, a Target shirt with words on it that were for Black people.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, like let's highlight these people that are behind these collections. And more and more and more people started popping up. And I was like, okay. So by this time, people are there, but I'm kind of getting like fatigue of how much I was posting, because I was trying to post every day, right? Yeah. Which is social media insanity. I was trying to post every day, and I was starting to get tired, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. It's kind of not fun to kind of post every single day. It's just a lot. And I told Kevin, I was like, I just feel like it's a lot. I don't know if I want to do it anymore. And he's like, well, don't give up yet. Like, just we'll see what happens, Mm-hmm. And then I posted, there's a toilet paper at Target that is co-owned by a Nigerian man. And when I tell you, I think toilet paper rocked people's world, they were like, wait a minute. There's regular everyday stuff that is at Target that I should be buying. And that post went super viral. And that's when I went from having like 10,000 to 16,000 to 30,000, like within a matter of months.
That's crazy. At this point, were you monetizing it, or was it still like a passion project?
It was still a passion project at this point. I wasn't monetizing anything. And this was all on Instagram too. Like I was dead set against TikTok. I don't think I answered your question. I was dead set against TikTok. I did not want to be on TikTok. I just felt like I was too old for it. I didn't want to be there. And my little brother, he was like, what are you doing?
You got to get on the top. You got to get on it.
make a TikTok. And I was dead set against it. I did not want to make a TikTok at all. And then when I did, I went from having 0 followers to having 120 in a couple of months. You know, just because my little brother was like, make a TikTok.
1,000 or 120? Just
120,000.
Oh, you got to add the 1,000, girl.
My bad.
Because I'm like, 120 is not that much, Marissa. 120,000? Wow.
Yeah.
That just goes to show you that there is power in the niche, right? Like super specific community, but it also, everyone loves Target. Most people do, I should say. It's funny because I just went to the other person. I'm not going to say the other competitor, right? But I'm like, oh, I love Target. I like Target better. Right?
Right.
It's crazy. Why do you think you grew so much on TikTok so quickly?
I just think that it was not only was it niche down, but it was things that were everyday things that people can just pick up. And they're on the shelf at Target, right? And I just think people didn't know, which is something that I talk about a lot when I'm doing my retail hauls, is the power of convenience. People love things that are convenient for them. You mean I can shop Black owned at Target where I go anyway? You know, I just don't think it's something that people really thought about.
Yeah. It's something, I didn't think about that, right? But it's like, but if now that you know, and once you have that knowledge, like when you know better, you do better, right?
Right, exactly. So I think that's why it grew so quickly on both platforms, on both pages.
I've always been curious because I follow like the Black Girls in Trader Joe's page, right? Like, cause I love Trader Joe's and I like seeing what other brown women are doing with their dishes and all that stuff. And I know that like, Trader Joe's doesn't notoriously provide marketing or have like a marketing budget. I'm saying that in quotes for like influencers. Right. And because your page was basically Target while Black, you're giving Target a lot of, you know, marketing, right? Free marketing. Yeah. Was this something that they helped come in at some point? Like, how does that work when you're basically building your brand around an already established brand that is benefiting? Because I would say they should come in and scoop you and make sure or you should be on their payroll, basically. Is that how it works in these situations?
So you're asking all the right questions.
I'm just genuinely curious because it's like, it's good because it helps build community really quickly because people know Target, but then for you on the back end, it's like, hey, Target, you see me? I'm out here.
Yeah. So, they did take me to Essence, and I have done like some paid partnerships with them like throughout the years. But it's not you're on their payroll kind of thing. It's okay. You still have to get like picked for the campaign, and then you can, you know, do that particular campaign. Something that my team has told me recently is that they want to work with really big influencers. So those are people with like, you know, millions of followers and not hundreds of thousands of followers. So I really haven't gotten anything recently from them. And I'm so glad you brought up Black Girls in Trader Joe's. I love her. I have had many one-on-one conversations with her. And she recently changed her name to Black Girls In. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah, I saw her post about that.
Yeah, she changed her name because she just felt like, you know, like it was putting her in a box in a way. And I had to comment back on her post that she put because I was like, man, if you're not talking to me, D, if you're not talking to me. So here comes Retail While Black, right? Where I made a whole nother page. I changed my name on TikTok from Target While Black to Retail While Black. And there's a lot behind that. Most of that is clear my salary from what I was making before. There's only so much Target that one person can handle, like in this capacity.
You're going to go through all the aisles eventually, right?
Right. And it's one of those things now where like I love my Target While Black community. Those are my girls. They're looking for me to share and post things, and I always still will. But I need to spread my wings a little bit. I need to do more in more spaces. I need to be able to do all the things, right? I need to show who Marissa is outside of just the Target girl.
It's something
And
we all face, right? Like, you want to be nice, you want to do the favors, but favors don't pay the bills forever.
right, right. I didn't want to charge anybody. I felt like these were Black brands that were already struggling with capital. And, you know, like just because they're on the shelf does not mean they're making
Either build a new highway or get on something else, right? You can't just, eventually you'll come to some sort of close or some sort of end, and you'll have to start another journey. And I just think your story is so important for us to hear, because where you started is very important, but you don't have to stay there, and you can evolve, you can pivot. And that thing probably was what you needed to get you to where you're going to go. And this might not even, Retail While Black might just be the second of many different things. Who knows where this will evolve from, right?
Yeah, I'm only 30. I think about that all the time. I'm like, oh God, there's so much journey left.
So much. You know what I'm interested in too is, how did you start to build the business around these pages, right? Because you're no longer working. Are you working on this full time? Let me just before I assume it. Are you working on this full time now?
Yeah, I did. I went full time.
So how does that work? Like, how do content creators, and I'm saying this for the people who are listening who might be content creators, right? Like, what was your strategy for saying, all right, this page has a lot of traction. Here's how I can monetize it so that I can, do this full time and not have to juggle another job with this, or whatever your plan was. Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah. So my initially, when I first quit my job to do this, I was taking a big bet on myself, but I had gotten a year-long deal with the Honey Pot.
Listen to Dreams and Drive if there was another person interviewing. I'm like, oh, okay. You just don't know sometimes until someone points it out.
Right. Yeah. And it's one of those things where you have to allow, I said this when I was on the panel in New York, you have to allow the way that other people see you sometimes. You have to see that, because I think we're so worried about like not worrying about what other people think. But sometimes other people be having a point.
No, your brand is not who you think it is. Your brand is what other people say you are.
Right.
Like, you cannot say, hey, I'm a yellow flower, but everybody sees you as a pink flower. Girl, you are a pink flower. You need to
Listen, and Black women will be quick to tell you, sorry, you're pink. Absolutely not.
Right.
And that was a transition that happened when I kind of put it out there to my followers. I was like, listen, like, I'm going to need to take a lot more breaks than I usually did before, because, I'm putting all my energy into this because I'm so worried about being first for everything. And, making sure that you guys get all of the things that you need every day. And I was like, why am I taking this so seriously now? Right. But the amount of people who write me back in my DMs and be like, girl, we love you. And you can't be yourself if all your energy is gone.
Yeah. Doesn't that feel good to know that people are looking out for your soul? They don't even know you, right? They're like, you don't even realize when this online community that you've been building for years, like, really cares at that level that they can. But it's like, there are people that do care.
Yeah. They're like, take your break, girl. It's fine. This week I've been sick. So I'm sure there's some of them that are like, where is Marissa? Like, she just disappeared off the face of the planet. But they know I'm going to come back and be posting stuff. I'm going to be doing things. They check on me. Some of them have literally been following me since the first month that I was doing this. They've seen every version of Marissa. And they're still following me.
And there might be people that are like, you don't even know are following you and are just kind of silent followers, but those people matter too. Like, I just, before this interview, I logged into LinkedIn really quickly, and I saw I had a message from this girl from college that right after college, I thought I wanted to be like a e-commerce consultant, whatever I wanted to be, like a branding consultant. And we had done this like free 1 hour branding consultation. Maybe I want to say like 2014, 2015. And she reached out to me on LinkedIn and sent me a message and was like, hey, Raina, I just listened to your most recent episode. I've been like, I'm a little late on this one, meaning that she's been listening to all the previous episodes. I'm like, wait,
Right.
girl, like you've been following along with me for this long. I didn't even know. So there might be people who are like wishing for you to make it and you just don't even know. And those people are as of equal value too, because you
Yeah.
also never know where you'll get like a connection, right? Like somebody
Yeah.
will be making something happen for you behind the scenes. Did you ever have that happen to you where, you know, there was an important connection made or a networking connection that really helped catapult you or get you something that really needed for your brand?
Oh, listen, all the time. I
Mm.
have people who I didn't even realize they're following me, and they'll send me messages like the message you got. Like I'll get just like a random long paragraph, and they'll be like, "I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for you. You know, I love what you're doing. Keep going. Drop me some nuggets." Like literally a paragraph, and probably not say anything for like another year or two, right? But
Yeah.
it's just the way people use social media. Some people are like super active. Some people just like to watch. Um, but there's been so many places and spaces where I've been and people are like, "Oh, I know you." And you know, I'm like, "You know me." I'm still not used to it yet. My mom is amazed. Like we'll be in a random city somewhere and people will be like, "Oh my God, Marissa." And
Yeah,
she's like,
wait, what? How you know my government?
"Yeah." Yeah. And my mom is like, "What is going on?" Like people just know you in all these random places. And because of that, because of wherever they are, it'll be someone will write me and say, you know, "Hey, I have this book that I'm dropping. Like, could you mind sharing it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll share your book and my stories or whatever." I did that one day, and the girl's book that I shared, it was her sister-in-law. She was one of the basketball players for the Liberty.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "Oh, snap. I love basketball." You know,
You
or
never know.
yeah, I've been on podcasts because of people that I know. You know, I've been featured in Black Enterprise because of people that I know that only follow me in this, you know, social media world that don't really know me. So it's been a really amazing journey.
What has been, you know, with every journey, right? There definitely are challenges. What has been like one of the biggest challenges that you're working through right now as you're really evolving the brand to the next level? Like recently, this past September, you had your Do It Anyway conference in New York, right? Where you had influencers, you had retail brands. Like it was a great event from social media. I couldn't attend because I just had a baby, but
Yeah.
you know, like there's so much stuff that you're working on. You're about to launch. You haven't launched your book yet, right? It's on pre-order
No.
now.
Yeah, it's in pre-order. It comes out November 14th.
All right. Like what have been the challenge that you're working through though, amidst all this stuff that, you know, you're evolving and doing?
So the challenge is my growth right now.
You as
In
your personal growth or just growth in the brand?
Yes, my personal growth, but in relation to the brand, right? Because I have this incessant need to not just be Target while Black. Like I'm really trying to shift over into retail while Black, but I'm comfortable, right? I'm comfortable in who I am and who I made myself be over there. Um, but I know that it's time for me to grow. I know it's time for me to do more than that. And with that is going to come a lot more focus in a new place. And I know that means that maybe my Target While Black page won't be the same, you know? And in a way where it'll appear the same to people. But for me, it won't be the same because my eggs need to go into a new basket so I can do more things.
When you say, I'm
And
curious,
yeah,
I'm trying to understand what you mean here. Do you
yeah.
mean as in your focus will shift or you're going to be enacting different strategies behind the scenes that are moving? I'm thinking of it as like a chess piece, right? Like
Yeah.
there's different pieces on your board and you might put one part over here. People don't know that's what's happening. That's what's happening. Like
Right.
Do you see yourself having to reshift the chessboard for you in a way?
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
I do. Because you asked me before, as like I'm monetizing this, like what does it look like? And I mentioned that it's still a challenge. And still with that challenge is that, I have links set up where people go click my links and I get money off the clicking the links. But the challenge has always been a lot of brands do not have money to pay influencers, you know? Um, so I have, set rates, but I slice my rates for small businesses. But even still, then they won't want to work with me with those rates. Um, and that's extremely difficult because this is supposed to be my full-time job, right? So I'm kind of right now too reliant on some of the bigger brands that need to come in uh and pay me. And I don't like that because it makes me feel like I have to, I don't know, be a certain way, to like
Yeah.
get these bigger brands' attention. And
Then
I'm
your
just not,
content looks different too, because I know with bigger brands, they might want more approvals and they might say, hey, we can't say things like this, right? It's just
yeah.
stressful.
Yeah.
Like
And I
it's
don't like
stressful.
that. I don't like that. I need to be able to say what I want to say, how I want to say it. I don't
Yeah.
like that. So, I'm hoping that along with this shift of me just spreading my wings and getting outside of Target, that I'm also going to be in new places and spaces where I'm going to be able to monetize my pages differently. Um, have more streams of income coming from different places. I thought being an author was like going to be a lot of money. That's not true. You get like $1 from every book.
And it's tough, and then it's tough, but I mean, it's still a great thing. But definitely the marketing on that, and just to sell those books can be
Yeah.
tough as well.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I'm hoping that I'm going to shift into this new location, a new place, and I'm going to be able to have more people that are going to be able to work with me. But my goal is still always those small brands, right? So
Yeah,
I need those bigger brands to work with me so that I can work with the smaller brands when they don't really have the budget. But I want to do it on my terms, not theirs. Yeah. And now my thing is like, how do I get there? How do I, have people coming to me as a consultant? Because I'm gonna tell the whole truth. Some of these retailers, they need a consultant because they're
yeah.
not doing the best.
It really, like, there's so much that can be happening, and the thing is too, these brands have the money if they want to have the money, right?
Right.
And
Right.
what I tell myself is like, I even say this with Dreams and Drive. Having $1 million would be fun, right? But I don't
Right.
need $1 million salary a year to survive. Let's
Right.
say I just want to make, I'm just saying this as an example. Let's say I want to make $200,000 a year.
Right.
There are brands out here that can pay 20,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? You can break it down into whatever chunks you want and just go after how can I charge this amount and get this amount in. And like, you don't have to necessarily work yourself to death because, as you know, from your teaching experience, you're not trying to be in a space that isn't right for you, your mental health, right? And doesn't
Yeah.
make you feel good. So there's all these things that we're juggling on. Like, how do we really make our dreams work for us, right? So that we
Yeah.
don't have to go back to those spaces and places and feelings that weren't working for us.
Yeah. I woke up this morning and I was like, man, and yesterday I like didn't feel good. And I recalled when I was teaching, if I would have to call in and tell someone I was sick, the anxiety that I would have, like just to tell someone like I couldn't come in because I was sick. And knowing that another teacher is probably gonna have to take over your classroom, like it was a lot during that time period. And I never want to go back to that. So I am thinking about like, what are these places and spaces I can put myself in so that I can generate more income? And being very honest, it's been really difficult, like really difficult
Yeah.
because I feel sometimes almost unseen. I know it sounds crazy when someone has 100,000 followers, but I feel unseen in some ways because I'm like, man, should it be this hard to monetize? I don't feel like the other girlies who don't look like me and you are working this hard.
They probably aren't. But you know what, too? They have, and this is where I feel like it's so important for us as, I'll say Black women because that's my first identity, right? As a Black woman, for us to be our biggest cheerleaders. But when you have teens that will advocate for you behind the scenes and will say, no, I like this person, put her in a campaign, that's how the deals get made, right? Yeah. So we have to continuously be each other's biggest advocates and say, hey, girl, you can make more here. Or don't charge us, or don't, like we have to be putting each other on and speaking each other's praises, because who else is going to do it if we don't? Right. And I also think too, and this is maybe I'm speaking from a place of what's the word? I can't think of the word right now, but sometimes I feel like when you're not directly in certain industries, and I'll say, for me, I'm not like a fashion and beauty influencer, right? But I feel like those influencers, it may be easier to, like, they look the part, right? And I'm like, dang, like, do I have to be on the internet, like, dressed up on, makeup to grow? Right. And I'm not speaking down on any of those people who do that, because that's what they're into. But as someone who's not in that space, but speaks to the business behind those spaces, it's like, dang, how do I grow? How do I get part of the conversation if I don't necessarily have the aesthetics every day on social media that match it? But I'm just as capable. I can speak to it. Those are the things that I'm like working through in my own head. Like, how do I show up? Because we know social media, at the end of the day, people like pretty things, people like trendy things, but how do you still stay authentic to who you are? Right. Yeah. That's what I've been trying to navigate. And I also think as women, it's different, because a man could just come on social media and not look any old way and be fine. Right. Right. And that's exhausting. Yeah, it's so exhausting.
That's so exhausting for me. As someone who, like, I can put on makeup and I can look cute sometimes. I don't want to do that every day. Yeah. Like, I very much so do not want to do that every day. I like putting my hair up in a bun and just going on there and chatting. But you know what? Sometimes I get on the internet and there's a few people. Their camera's grainy. They're in a dark room. They're just talking. With 1 million followers. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep showing up as myself and hope someone enjoys who I am.
Yep. And be your authentic self. Like I even said at the beginning of this interview, you guys can't see it, but in the beginning of the interview, I was cameras on. My baby is sleeping on my shoulder right now. You might hear snoring. I was going to ask you, Marissa, if you heard some snoring. That's not me. His little congested self. But like, you make it work how you have to make it work. And I think people are going to love the Marissa story for what it is. People love the Raina story for what it is. And I think that's why I continue to do this podcast. I want people to know that our stories matter, right? Yeah. And where we're going matters, and our struggles matter, and we're going to make it. And if you feel like you don't feel like you're where you're supposed to be, you might not be where you need to be just yet, but the things that are happening to you are happening and are going to teach you something that's going to help you when you get to where you need to be, right?
Yeah. Everybody's story's not the same. People's stories are messy and crisscrossed, and it doesn't mean that you are any less for where you are. It's just a part of your journey for you to keep moving forward. And that's the part, right? Like, you never stop moving. You always keep driving.
Yeah. What do you think?
You'll get to your destination.
How do your children, like, how do they think what do they think about what you're doing now? And like, how do you feel as a mother now, especially as when you first started motherhood, right? We're in such a different space mentally, physically, emotionally. Like, how does it feel now as a mother to be where you are now? What do your kids think of it?
You would think my kids would think I was so cool. Nope, I'm still lame. I'm still lame. They like what I do every now and then when, I did a reel just because Ty took me in the store. Ty took me into PacSun. And I was like, we're going to PacSun. And he was like, yeah, I like the store. And I was like, okay. And, I'm standing in there. He's looking at these t-shirts and I'm like, is this a Black-owned brand? And it was. So, we did that reel together. He was picking up the t-shirts and showing everybody. And then one of the brands sent us a whole package full of all the t-shirts and all the goodies. So, he went to school the next week looking
You were the best mom ever, right? You were like, my mom is dope.
Yeah, he was like, oh snap, this is real cool. My daughter is, she really is the most creative person I know, and she loves dolls. So, I did a Barbie campaign a while back. And I was the coolest mom ever that week too, for that.
Oh, wow.
Like, oh, we're gonna get Barbies? Okay.
That's cool. That gives me some hope that one day, like, I'm still pretty cool to my son because he's 3, and I'm cool. And this 9-week-old, I'm cool because I have breast milk, right? But
Right.
I'm looking forward to, well, as they grow older, just seeing like how our relationship changes and like their views and perspectives of me. What keeps you going when you feel like giving up, Marissa? We talked about a lot about your journey, the ups, the downs, the successes, some of the quote unquote failures, right? Or things you might have felt like you were failing at. But right now where you are, 2023, looking towards the new year, what's that fuel in your gas tank that's keeping you going?
It's my kids. And it's so crazy because it started with them, right? With me, the light switch going off in my head, like, oh no, to now them always being there. This is why things happen to everybody for a reason. Because now I know that if I give up, like, what am I teaching my kids?
Exactly.
So that's not an option for me. Like, I need to always make sure that I keep going, getting all this experience, even if I fail, right? Even if I make a giant mistake, which I've made mistakes before. Even if I make a giant mistake, like, how do I handle that mistake? How do my kids see me handle that mistake? Because it can't just be a mistake that you made and then you cry about it. You have to take that as a learning experience and keep moving forward. So they're still my light.
Yeah,
all these years later, they're still my light.
Even though you might not be cool, right? All the time, they are watching. It's so funny because my oldest Axel, like, we say whenever he like drops something or he makes a mistake, we tell him it's okay to make mistakes, right? And he's internalized that. And one day I was saying something and I was just talking to myself and I was like, oh my gosh, like, how could I do this, right? He came over to me, he said, Mommy, it's okay to make mistakes. And from this little 3-year-old voice, right? It made me realize, like, wow, like, I'm doing something right, but they're watching us, right? And
the way I would have cried on spot.
Right? He's like, it's okay to make mistakes. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, this is why, like, being a great parent and really investing into children really changes the future, because these children that we have will be the future generation, and they'll be the foundation for how the world runs. So we just got to keep continuing to do great jobs. And
be gentle with them. Be gentle with them. Let them make mistakes. I do so many things differently than my parents did for me. And not that they did a bad job. It was just that that's what they thought they had to do in that time period. But I can see, my son, he gets very anxious about things. And I see him getting anxious and he's like, around his friends or something. And I'm like, okay, don't butt in right now because that's really not a cool thing to do. But later, I'll ask him what he needs, like, why did you feel anxious in that moment? Like, what can I do to help you feel less anxious about that? And I really hope that the next generation, they realize that, again, here we go with the empathy again, right? But the empathy to be able to put yourself in other people's shoes and understand what they're going through, that's really going to make a better world.
Yeah. And you never know. Maybe that will be the next pivot. You never know.
You never know. It's pivot, pivot, pivot.
Well, Marissa, this has been such a great conversation. Last thing before we end is, in order to be a dream driver, you have to have your keys to success. So can you tell our dream drivers 3 things that you think everyone needs in their toolkit before they hit the road?
Ooh, 3 things that you need in your toolkit. Okay. We're going to start with the word I said a million times a day, empathy for yourself too. Right? Like, give yourself room to breathe. And I think stick to itness, that is a teacher word. All my teacher friends will know what that word means. But there was, when you're doing your evaluation for teachers, it's stick to itness. And that means that, with itness. So you keep up with the things that are going on in a way that is still yourself. So stick to who you are, but in a way that will keep you going forward. And the last one I would say is, I don't know, this last one's hard.
Maybe it could be something tangible, a physical thing, like something like, is there a notebook? Is there like a tool that you really love or?
Yeah. So I think that it is definitely a notebook. I have so many ideas every day, all day, and so many thoughts that maybe they're good thoughts, maybe they're not good thoughts. And I write everything down. Which is funny that you mentioned Jasmine from Be Rooted, because she definitely is my notebook girl. She's my notebook girl. And she also did like a gratitude, checklist for us at one of the events I went to with her. And I use that a lot. So empathy.
All right, so that's a wrap for this episode of Dreams and Drive. I hope you enjoyed our guest's dream driving journey, as well as listening to their keys to success. So if you love this episode, you know what to do. Please make sure that you are following us. We are at Dreams and Drive across social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So make sure you're sharing this episode, posting it to your Instagram stories, texting it to a friend, sharing on LinkedIn, wherever you are online. Just pay this forward and share this with somebody. We really appreciate it. And all the sharing that you do helps us grow our community. If you want to join our email newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly updates delivered to your inbox, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. And lastly, if you know somebody who would be great for this show, or if you are someone who would be great for this show, please go to dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. I'm always accepting new guests. I'm always accepting new pitches. So I love to see those pitch requests coming in. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in the next episode. Bye, guys.